Welcome back. Our next guest is a cancer survivor. She joins us to speak about what her experience was like going through cancer treatment and to emphasize the importance of men and women getting screened for colorectal cancer. So please welcome to the show, Michele Battista. Michele, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I know your mantra is, I had cancer, but cancer never had me. Explain that.
So I went for that colonoscopy at 50 on my own. My doctor didn't recommend, anything. And I had no symptoms going in. I woke up from anesthesia and the gastroenterologist said, you have cancer. And, it was just heart-rending. So I was into this for the fight. I'm somebody who never plays odds. I'm not a betting person. At the time, I was volunteering with the Ashley Lauren Foundation, which raises money for children and their families suffering with cancer to pay bills, etc. And I had asked for a recommendation from her, and she had recommended UPenn. My doctor here at Red Bank Gastro in New Jersey had actually done his residency at UPenn, so had called the director of gastroenterology and got me an appointment with the surgeon on March 1st, Dr. Mahmood, and I got the warm fuzzy from her, and surgery went off. You kind of hope that it's just local in where they take out from your colon and do a resection, but unfortunately for me, it had spread to the lymph nodes, so I was stage 3 and had to do 12 rounds of chemo. Chemo's the gift that keeps giving. And I had a really wonderful oncologist at UPenn, and we, as I called it, tweaked my chemo cocktail till chemo 6, trying to minimizing side effects. Finished my last chemo on September 13th, 2012. And within 1 week, I started with chemo-induced peripheral neuropathy. You kind of think you're going to get back to normal, the old you.
Yeah.
And you're slapped silly in the face with, something new, which is when I discovered the Colorectal Cancer Alliance. They had daily chats to ask questions about, how to manage symptoms. And
well, what was something new? It was a symptom that you didn't have before, or when you thought you were going back to
24/7 hand and feet tingling. When you have pins and needles when your hand falls asleep.
Yeah.
24/7, that in my hands and my feet. It was horrible.
And that was due to the cancer treatment, or?
Yes, exactly. And normally people will get it during the treatments. I was lucky I didn't. I got it afterwards, which, it blindsided me, because I said, you finish, you think you're going to snap back, and, but it's minimized. I have it for life. It's, I can't stay on my feet for more than a couple of hours without getting uncomfortable, but I'm a now 10-year survivor.
All right. God bless you.
So,
congratulations.
Yeah, that was back in March. I consider my cancerversary the date of surgery. Everybody has a different idea. The date you were diagnosed is sometimes the cancerversary, which for me— I've
never heard that before, cancerversary.
Yeah. Cancerversary. It's, it's when you consider a monumental feat. For me, 1 year was pretty amazing getting there. At the time, without doing chemo, my chance of 5 years surviving without remission was only 50%.
Yeah.
With chemo, it only went up to 70%, which is not great.
Doctor saved your life twice?
Dr. Boyle saved my life twice. Back in 1987, I basically stopped absorbing food, and he diagnosed me after 10 days in a hospital with celiac disease, which is the allergy to gluten.
Yeah, yeah.
And, before World Wide Web, there wasn't a lot, and gluten fad like it is today was nothing back then.
You probably heard about gluten, but you didn't know much about it at the time, but now it's all over the place.
Yeah, and so many foods are gluten-free by design now. Back then they weren't.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dr. Boyle saved my life twice. Because basically, my cancer was close to causing an obstruction in my my bowels, and I would have landed in the ER if I hadn't done the colonoscopy.
Yeah. What do you recommend to people? Because you said you never had symptoms. You were.
I had, so symptoms of colon cancer are, irregular bowels, blood in the stool, you're anemic, tired. I had none of those. And in fact, after, I woke up and, the doctor said, you got to get blood work, you got to get a CAT scan, and you got to see a surgeon ASAP. I went and did the blood work, and there's a marker for colon cancer. Mine was normal. It didn't even show that I had it. I wasn't anemic. All my blood levels were fine. Yes, the CT scan did show the mass in my colon. But it's the silent killer, basically, and that's why they have since dropped the screening age from 50 to 45, because the under 50, the numbers of people being diagnosed are higher now, for whatever reason, the state of the world, etc. So they're trying to bring down the screening age to 45. It's now accepted by most of the insurance companies. Maybe if I had gotten my screening at 45, my cancer would have only been a precancerous polyp, and it would have only been the colonoscopy and not surgery for the resection and 12 rounds of chemo over 6 months.
Now, is there a history of colorectal cancer in your family?
No, I was the first person, and to my mother, it was very hard for her. To her, I was dying, and and she's a person of faith, and she went to my local parish where I grew up, and had me on the prayer list and got a cross blessed for me to wear during my whole 6 months of chemo and stuff. But but she was behind me, supporting me, but at first it was very hard for her, because I was the first person in the family to get diagnosed.
Yeah.
So now my son has to get his colonoscopy. It's recommended at the age of 35, because usually it's 10 years prior, but my gastro doctor said because I had it at least 5 to 10 years, it's a very slow growing cancer. My son should get his first colonoscopy at 35, because the chance of hereditary with colorectal cancer is high.
Now, you mentioned irregular bowel movements. How did that feel? How did that look? Explain that.
So usually if there's a change in bowel habits, you go a lot more frequently, or it's thin and stringy kind of, I didn't experience that. I'm a regular, and still to this day, I'm a regular person, but the, UPenn, where I went for my colorectal surgeon, has a very good website, and even like basically the American Cancer Society. I do a lot of volunteering work with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, ccalliance.org. They have a lot of information out there on how to treat it. It's you got to listen to your body. I mean, mine wasn't saying anything. It was just, I knew getting a colonoscopy at 50 was one of those things, and I'm glad I did it. And then basically, my husband, who's the same age as me, basically, he went and got one shortly thereafter. And, there was a precancerous polyp, so he was safe with just the colonoscopy and then a follow-up colonoscopy, and he's fine. But I got to.
How important is it for women, especially women of color, to get themselves screened for colorectal cancer?
Especially for women of color and even men. It's one of the facts of colorectal cancer, which is the second leading cause of cancer deaths, that it disproportionately affects the African Americans. And so getting the word out. Like I said in my bio that I said to you, Chadwick Boseman, died at the age of 43. And I'm sure that had an effect on getting people out there. Craig Melvin from the NBC Today show, when his brother passed away at the age of 43 also. Craig Melvin is now a big proponent within the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, running events to raise awareness, to raise money.
Do you have something coming up to raise money and create the awareness of colorectal cancer?
So the Colorectal Cancer Alliance has what they call now the Walk to End Colon Cancer. They have several of them throughout the country. There is not one in New York, but the Jersey Shore Walk to End Colon Cancer is on September 24th. The walk starts at 9 a.m. I am going to be actually the opening ceremony survivor speaker this year.
And what are you going to tell people there? What advice do you have for anyone going through colorectal cancer treatments?
You need a support person. My husband and son were phenomenal to me during that time. Chemo whooped my butt. I was barely functioning. My husband would make like cornbread in the morning the day after I started chemo to try to entice me to eat because it would ruin your appetite. My son would help and after surgery, I couldn't even get out of bed. I had to text my son, could you help me get up, please? And he was a sophomore at Virginia Tech. He was home. He left right before his spring break to come home early to be home for my surgery. He's a phenomenal person. He's now out in the workforce, married, expecting a baby by year end. So I'm going to be a grandma.
Good, grandma. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But my mantra is, I had cancer, it never had me. I fought it like heck when I was going through chemo, and the side effects took me blindsided. But I fought through it. And I'm always about raising awareness. So when the Colorectal Cancer Alliance has an event nearby, I used to do stuff at Monmouth Medical for National Survivor Day. I've done events up at Liberty State Park for them with Hackensack Meridian.
Is this on your website? This is on your website?
I mention it. I don't really have a website myself. On my personal fundraising page, I kind of mention what I'm, how I'm raising awareness.
What is that? What is that page?
So it's impact.ccalliance.org/mybattista.
Okay. We'll post that up here too.
Thank you. Yeah, I sent that via Phyllis. And I also, with Red Bank Gastro, which is where I go for my colonoscopies, they also do fundraising events at a local grocery store across the street from their offices to raise awareness. March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. And just, also they announce there's ways to get a free colonoscopy if there's symptoms. There's, also Cologuard is now a fecal test to try to find colon cancer, because many people don't like the idea of talking about getting a colonoscopy. They don't want to have something stuck up their butt. And really, it's nothing. Yeah, the prep is a little ugly and stuff, but I've had many at this time in my life. I have to go every 3 years for life.
But listen, thank you so much for sharing. We're gonna have to do a hard wrap right here. Thank you for sharing, and God bless you. You've come through a whole lot, but now you're going to be a grandma and you're a cancer survivor.
Yes,
all right.
10 years.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Michele Battista, colorectal cancer survivor. We'll take a break right here. I've got more coming up next on Open.